Cezar Gonzalez. I'm the executive director of the Lake Houston Family YMCA, which is here in Kingwood, about half a mile up the street from our facility here. And some of you probably wondering what does a Hispanic director running a YMCA in an area such as Kingwood that is predominantly Anglo. And that in itself is a very interesting story, how I started with the YMCA, how I ended up here. I think most of my life, and I have to confess, has been an incredible blessing that I feel that God has been with me all along, and I've been incredibly blessed with my family, my career, and just the life that I've led. I think I've been just very fortunate and just blessed beyond compare, and I owe all that to God and what He's done in my life. So let me start off by telling you about my family. My wife, Sonia Gonzalez, she's a teacher at Humble Independent School District. She is also a Teacher of the Year last year at Pine Forest. So we're incredibly excited. Sonia is a Spanish immersion teacher, so she teaches young Anglo kids how to basically speak, write, and read Spanish. So their classroom is basically all in Spanish, and they have to go home and read with the parents in English so they can keep the English at home. So it's a very interesting program. It's a very important program because I think it shows how much our society has changed in the last years, where now many people recognize the importance of the Hispanic community, the Hispanic culture in our area. So we are very blessed that she's done an incredible job, and she was honored as Teacher of the Year. Her story and her family is incredible, and I hope someday she can share it with everyone. I know she's a little bit shy and doesn't like to speak in front of people, but her story is just even more amazing, what she's done and her family, what they've been through to be in the United States. I have two boys, Emmanuel and Gabriel. Emmanuel is going into 9th grade at Tuscaloosa High School. Gabriel is going into middle school, Tuscaloosa Middle School, next year. So both of my young boys will be starting a new chapter in their life, which is both middle school and high school. So we're a little bit nervous, a little bit excited at the same time, but it's been a very interesting experience with my kids. I came from El Paso, Texas, born and raised in Canutillo, which is a town about 20 miles northwest of El Paso. And it's a small town, probably, I think at the time when I was growing up, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people that lived there. The high school was at that time was a 3A high school, so it's a small school. I come from a family of 12 brothers, or 12 brothers and sisters. I'm in the middle. I'm number 7, so I'm somewhere in the middle, which is another story of how amazing how God puts things in your life to prepare you for the future. And my wife, we met in El Paso, and we met at UTEP. I'm a graduate of the University of Texas, El Paso. And Miners, I know Mr. Nahari is from UTEP also, so we are devoted fans of the UTEP Miners. And anyway, we met at UTEP, and we got married and went work for the Y in El Paso. Then I came to Houston in 1996. The way my career started in the YMCA, at the time I was going to UTEP, I was a senior at UTEP and working for the university swimming pool, and I helped with assisting with the swim classes that we had there at the university. I also did lifeguarding and basically ran the pool on the weekends there for the university. So while I was at UTEP, a gentleman came by the UTEP swimming pool and started asking questions about if I knew where he could go find information about the county pools and the city pools and who to talk to about the permits and a bunch of questions about aquatics. And I happened to be in aquatics in high school and also when I was going to college. In the summers, I would actually manage a swimming pool for the county. So he kind of took an interest and said, wow, you know a lot about swimming, a lot about the pool and about the city. So he said, hey, why don't you come by the Y and try to apply for a position at the YMCA? They need an aquatic director. So I said, okay, I'll give it a try. So I went to the Northeast Y in El Paso, which was a very small YMCA, and I became the aquatic and youth sports director at the time. And the YMCA was one of 4 YMCAs in El Paso, and it was the smallest Y. And I took on that job that summer. And when I started working for the Y, again, I was very blessed because that position, everything that I've learned in high school and college about aquatics was what the Y was looking for. So it was a perfect fit. And I also did sports. In all my career in high school, was very involved in sports. So I had the sports background, I had the aquatic background, it was almost like the perfect job for me. So I went in and did really well. I was there for about a year and a half, and when I started in El Paso at that YMCA, we used to challenge each other between the YMCA's as who's got the best program, who's got the most kids, all that kind of stuff was kind of the measurements of how well you do. And the Northeast Y at the time, we had maybe 150 kids in the sports program and probably 1 or 2 adult teams and maybe a couple hundred kids in swim lessons. Well, after a year and a half later, that YMCA, we were able to grow the program. We had over 250 kids, and at that time, the biggest Y in El Paso had about 350 kids, so we were kind of catching up to one of the big Ys, and even though that Northeast was a very small Y. And I was also the only Hispanic director at the time, and even though El Paso's 80% Hispanic, I was the only Hispanic director, believe it or not, at the YMCA in El Paso. So my other peers saw that the growth in our programs, and the executive director of the East Valley YMCA kind of stole me from Northeast to work for him at East Valley. At that time, that was the flagship Y. It was the big Y. And so I got the job as the physical director of the East Valley YMCA. It was a very nice facility, had 5 racquetball courts, tennis courts, swimming pool, diving pool, just a beautiful facility, and I was really just surprised that I got the chance to work at this YMCA. So when I took on the job as the physical director, sports was my main responsibility in aquatics. And at the time, I had about 350 kids, and about 3 years later, after I had been there for a while, the East Valley YMCA, we ended up with almost 1,000 kids in sports. We had over 3,000 kids in swim lessons in the summer. We had the fastest growing YMCA in El Paso. We had, in fact, we surpassed the West Side Y, which was the biggest Y back then in El Paso. So some of the things that I think helped me get there, obviously, was the background of being in sports and aquatics. But one of the things that I learned early was always to have a good, positive attitude. Ever since I was a kid, I used to always think very positive. I always wanted to do better at things that I attempted. So that helped me really elevate that program. And when working with people was one of the things that I enjoyed. So a lot of things that I did with the YMCA, I just was very open to people, very welcoming to people. Customer service, if kids can learn one thing in business, is customer service. You got to have good customer service. All the Walmarts in the world, all those successful businesses really have contributed that to the customer service aspect of their business. So when I went in, one of the things that one of the coaches told me is that, since you've come here, Cesar, the Y has been very open. Before we had to come to the front desk, we wanted to ask questions, nobody would help, and nobody knew where the sports director was, and you have to make an appointment, and it was very, very non-customer friendly. And one of the things that I did, I was very open. I was always there. I had a job that, if you can imagine, I had a big family, and we were a very low-income family. And for me to have a job in the first place was incredible. And so I wanted to work 24/7 when I was there. So I was there all the time, Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, from open to closing. I was at that Y working. So the volunteers, when they would come to the Y, I was always there to greet them, always there to help them with whatever they needed. So it was that customer service that I think caused our program to grow so much, to have so many kids, so many families, and so many programs. When someone came to me and said, gosh, why doesn't the Y have swim lessons, or why doesn't the Y have modeling class? I was always the one that, why not? Let's try it. Let's see if we can get it going. So we started modeling. We started tennis lessons, golf lessons. I mean, almost anything you can think of, I was willing to try, and I wasn't scared to give it a try. And that really helped grow that YMCA. After that, I got the opportunity to be the director of the Northeast Y. So I went back to the Y where I started and became the director of that YMCA. And some of the things that I saw working there as an aquatic director, now as the director, I was able to change and make some impact in that facility.